Namaskar children, I am Amit Thakur and today we are going to present the 11th chapter of your history textbook, and the title of the chapter is Rebels and the Raj. And we have talked many things about this chapter earlier in the earlier videos, and now we are on the new segment of this chapter, and that is third segment, and that is what the rebels wanted. Why did rebels waged a huge war against the Britishers? What did they want from waging this war? We want to know. We want to decipher all these things from whatever record we have. First of all, you must know that the rebels didn't have much record. They didn't leave any record because most of them have were illiterate. They were common sepoys, ordinary people. They were illiterate, therefore they didn't write many things. And whatever record they did have, that had been destroyed by the Britishers. Britishers recorded their own trials and tribulations and their deeds of heroism, but they didn't write anything positive about the rebellions. They rejected the rebellions as barbaric people or ungrateful people. So it is very much difficult as a historian to write and to know the intention of the rebel sepoys and other people. Whatever little we could gather intention of the rebellions is the proclamations and the notifications, that is the ishtihars issued by the rebel leaders during the rebellion. But those notifications or proclamations were very few. uh, we fortunately we have one important proclamation, that is called the Ajamgarh Proclamation of 25th August 1857. And similarly, we also have an arji, that is application, written by a rebel who was survived after rebellion. So, these two important sources were given in your textbook, history textbook. You must read those things so that you can understand fully what those proclamation and the application of that rebellion sepoy clearly portrays. So, my first important point is uh, 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 the first important thing we have to keep in mind that we have to depend heavily on the British records to understand the things that happened in 1857 rebellion. First important thing is that, and second important thing is that the British records told very little about the rebels and what they wanted. So, keeping in mind these limitations, we have to gather something to know the intention and the longings and the desires of the rebellion people. So, as I have told you earlier, that we have two important sources. One is the Ajamgarh Proclamation of 25th August 1857, and another is an application written by Sepoy. So, on that basis, on such few records, we can conclude that the rebel people who waged a war against the Britishers wanted at least three important things from this rebellion. The first important thing is the vision of unity. The rebels wanted to establish Hindu Muslim unity again. They tried to proclaim that the British people have created a divide between Hindu and Muslim, and it is the pious duty of Hindu and Muslim both to wage a war against these Christian people, that is the British people, and save our religion, our life, our wealth, and everything. So these people, that is the rebellions, wanted to have a unity among Hindu and Muslims. So we can find these things from your textbook. What important points you can write on this topic? That is the vision of unity. The rebel proclamations in 1857 repeatedly appealed to all sections of the population, irrespective of their caste and creed. So, um, the rebels wanted to secure unity among all sections of Indian people. This is the first important thing that what rebel wanted. We can give example to this theory because many of the proclamations were issued by the Muslim princes or in their names, but even these took care to address the sentiments of the Hindus. For example, in those proclamations, it was directed that uh, on the to celebrate Eid, no cow slaughter was made, just to take care of the sentiments of the Hindus. So this is an example which shows that rebels wanted unity among Hindus and Muslims. Another important thing is that the rebellion was seen as a war in which both Hindus and Muslims had equally to lose or gain. So the rebels clearly mention in their proclamations that this war, that is the rebellion we are waging against the Britishers, is a common war for both Hindus and Muslim. And if we win, both Hindu and Muslim will win. And if we lose, both Hindu and Muslim will lose. So it is better to come together and wage this war, or fight this rebellion unitedly. This the rebels wanted. Another important thing is that the ishtihars, the rebellion was seen as okay, yes, the ishtihars, that is the notifications, the advertisements, harked back to the pre-British Hindu-Muslim past and glorified the coexistence of different communities under the Mughal Empire. The rebels clearly assured in their advertisements that before British people, the Hindus and the Muslims were living peacefully in coexistence. So we want that unity, that type of unity among Hindu and Muslim. This the rebel wanted. Another important thing which you can gather from your textbook is that the proclamation that was issued under the name of Bahadur Shah appealed to the people to join the fight under the standards of both Muhammad and Mahavir. Both Muhammad and Mahavir. Under the flag of both Muhammad and Mahavir, the rebellions must fight against the Britishers. So this all these things clearly indicates that rebels wanted unity among Hindu and Muslims, among all the sections of Indian people, so that the Britishers can be sent away, can be thrown away from our India. And another important thing you can gather from your textbook is that uh, yes, very important thing you can gather from your textbook is that Britishers, they were known for their policy of divide and rule. So it means it must have come to your mind that the Britishers were the Britishers not doing any mischief to create a communal divide among the Hindus and Muslims. Yes, they were certainly doing this. They spent almost 50,000 in Bareilly district to create a communal divide between Hindu and Muslim. But their attempt was all in vain. And there was complete unity among Hindus and Muslims in during this rebellion, and both Hindus and Muslims fought together against the Britishers. So it is a very interesting observation that despite the efforts of the Britishers to create a communal divide among Hindus and Muslims, people of both religions didn't fall prey to the tactics of the Britishers, and they continue to unite and fight against the Britishers. This is very important thing that must be remembered. So this is the first thing that what the rebellions wanted from their from this what the rebels wanted from their rebellion. Now the second important thing that the rebels wanted was, again, they were against the symbols of oppression. The rebels were against all the symbols of British rule, because they think that this rule, that is the British rule, was very unholy, and it is the duty of both Hindus and Muslims to throw away this rule. So let us have a look at your textbook and find what important things you can collect from the book to write a good answer in your exam. The first important thing you must remember that the proclamations completely rejected everything associated with British rule, or Frangi Raj as they called it. So everything that is associated with Frangi Raj, that is the British rule, must be out and out rejected. Second important thing, they condemned the British for the annexations they had carried out and the treaties they had broken. So you must be knowing that there was doctrine of lapse, there was subsidiary alliances. All these British policies were meant to capture the Indian princely states, and all the deposed kings and queens and nawabs were very much dissatisfied and and were angry with the Britishers, or because they captured their princely states and they betrayed them by breaking all the treaties. Therefore, the rebels wanted to keep away from the all the British treaties. This is the important thing that they wanted from their rebellion. And another important thing that the British, the rebel leader said, couldn't be trusted. The British couldn't be trusted. The rebel leaders told told to people. Another very important thing is that British land revenue settlement. We are going to study the causes or the grievances of the rebels. First, the Britishers captured princely states. This was one of the important cause of rebellion, and by throwing away the Britishers from India, the rebels wanted to capture their territory again. This is the first they wanted. And another important thing, why did the Britishers, why did the rebels were angry with the Britisher? The another important reason of their dissatisfaction with the Britishers was that British land revenue settlement had dispossessed landholders, both big and small. All jamindars, all landholders were dispossessed due to British revenue policies, and they were disgruntled with the Britishers. And foreign commerce had driven artisans and weavers to ruin. So all sections of Indian people were dissatisfied, were angry with the Britishers because due to their policies, everyone was ruined. The Nawabs, the kings and queens were ruined. The landholders, big and small, were ruined. The weavers, the weavers and the artisans were ruined. So all were against the Britishers. So they wanted to throw away the Britishers from India so that they could get the life what they were earlier living peacefully. So this they wanted. Every every aspect of British rule was attacked, and the Frangi accused of destroying a way of life that was familiar and cherished. The rebels wanted to restore that world. Mind you, you must underline this important sentence. The rebels wanted to restore that world. What world? The world where Nawabs, kings, and queens were ruling their princely states, where landholders were holding their lands, and where weavers and artisans were doing their business, were running their occupation peacefully, and and they were getting prosperity from that business. All these things they wanted back. That is why they revolted against the Britishers. This is the second important thing that we have collected from the Ajamgarh proclamation, that what the rebels wanted. Another important thing you must note down is that the proclamation, that is the Ajamgarh proclamation, expressed the widespread fear that the British were bent on destroying the caste and religion of Hindus and Muslims and converting them to Christianity. Mind you, this is the very, very important point you must understand and you must write in the exam, because all the Indians, whether they were Hindus or Muslims, all were having a fear of losing their faith, of losing their religion, because the policies of Britishers was to make them converted to Christianity. That is why the people easily believed in the rumors of greased cartridges, or the bones of powder of bones of pig and cow in the flour mill, in the floor, and similarly other rumors they easily believed, because in all the other rumors they all the Indians easily believed, because they were having a very pertinent fear that Britishers were going to destroy their religion. This is another important their grievance, and therefore they wanted to throw the Britishers out of India so that their religion could be saved. This they also wanted. To save their religion, they wanted. Another important thing they wanted is people were urged to come together and fight to save their livelihood, their faith, their honor, and their identity. A fight which was for greater public good. So, what the rebels wanted, they wanted to save their livelihood, they wanted to save their faith, they wanted to save their honor, and they wanted to save their identity. And if they fight for protecting all these things, then that fight would be in the for greater public good. So all these things the rebels wanted. Now I think you must be understanding that all these things the rebels wanted. Another important thing which you should read from your textbook is that in many places the rebellion against the British widened into an attack on all those who were seen as allies of the British or local oppressor. Another very important thing, as you have studied, as have you seen in the earlier lectures, that the people who supported the sepoys, who come with the sepoys to fight against the Britishers, they also attacked the wealthy, the rich people of the towns like sahukars, moneylenders, etc. Because they think that they are stooges of the Britishers and they are no less than the Britishers in exploiting the Indians. So the rebels also wanted to destroy these moneylenders and rich people who became stooges of the Britishers to exploit the Indian people. This they also wanted. And another important thing, what they wanted is, often the rebels deliberately sought to humiliate the elites of a city. They deliberately humiliate the elites of the city, because it means, I think that all these things can lead us to a conclusion that this rebellion is more or less a rebellion to have an egalitarian society like Russian Revolution or Chinese Revolution. This might be possible. Okay, in villages, they burnt account books and ransacked moneylenders' houses. So it is a war for equality, I think. Also, this this reflected an attempt to overturn traditional hierarchies, rebel against all oppressors. So this the rebel wanted to overturn the hierarchies and to rebel against all oppressors. Not only the Britishers, they were against not only the Britishers, but they were against all the property class people who were oppressing the common man. This is very important thing we must understand, and you have to write in your exam. This war, this rebellion was not against only of the Britishers. It was also against the wealthy merchant, moneylender class of Indian people who were exploiting the common people. So rebels wanted to overturn the social hierarchy, and they want to bring equality in the social relations. This is another important conclusion that we can make in when we were discussing what the rebels wanted. And another important thing is that related against all oppressor in present in yes in presents sorry it presents a glimpse of an alternative vision, perhaps of a more egalitarian society. Egalitarian society means where all are equal, where there is no much difference among the rich and poor. Everybody is having almost equal share in the national product. That society is called egalitarian society. So by attacking on the merchants, wealthy people, and by destroying their houses, by burning their account books, I think the rebels wanted to make the society egalitarian and overturn the social hierarchy. This is very important message we get from your textbook, and you must write all these things in your exam when you were answering when you will be answering what the rebels wanted. Such visions were not articulated in the proclamation, which sought to unify all social groups in the fight against Frangi Raj. But unfortunately, all these things could not be recorded from the from the side of rebels, because I have already told you most of the rebels were illiterate and they couldn't write anything, they couldn't leave any record of their deeds. And the Britishers were not kind enough to record the sentiments and the intentions of the rebels. Britishers were more interested in portraying them as barbaric people, unthankful people. So all these things you must understand, you must keep in your mind while reading your book and while answering the question in your exam. So this is the second important thing what the rebel wanted. And now we come on the third important thing what the rebels wanted. The rebel also wanted to search for an alternative power. They want to rebuild. They want to build a alternative structure of power. They want to establish a rule. They want to establish a government, an administration that was different from the British administration that was currently prevailing in that time. So we can go through your book and find some important things over this point also. Once British rule had collapsed, the rebels in places like Delhi, Lucknow, and Kanpur tried to establish some kind of structure in authority and administration. Some kind of structure of authority and administration they want to establish. This is another important thing what the rebels wanted. Um, the rebel leadership wanted to restore the pre-British world of the 18th century. Most important thing, all of you must underline this sentence. The rebel leadership wanted to restore the pre-British world of the 18th century. Whatever the world was there in India before arrival of the Britishers, they wanted that world. That is where the Mughal ruler, the Mughal Basha, the Mughal king was ruling, and many other small rulers were ruling in different over the different parts of India. So they wanted that type of structure. They wanted that type of rule. Uh, the leaders went back to the culture of court. Very important. You must underline this sentence. The leaders went back to the culture of the court. Court, that is Mughal court, the royal court. They want that royal court culture. Um, how can we conclude, how can we come to this conclusion that rebel wanted the court culture? Because many deeds, many acts done by the done by the rebels lead us to this conclusion that the rebels wanted the court culture. So what things they had done so that we can conclude that they wanted the court culture? They we can give some examples. For example, appointments were made to various posts. Appointments were made. It means they were trying to establish a court culture where officers were appointed. So appointments were made to various posts. Arrangements made for the collection of land revenue and the payment of troops. Orders issued to stop loot and plunder. Side by side, plans were made to fight battles against the British. This is again a court culture. um, Chains of commands were laid in the army. Chains of command were also laid in the army. In all this, the rebels harked back to the 18th century Mughal world. Underline this statement. In all this, the rebels harked back to the 18th century Mughal world. It means they wanted to restore the Mughal administration. They were doing exactly all the things that were present in the Mughal court and Mughal administration. So rebels wanted to recover, to re-establish the Mughal court or the Mughal administration. Another thing, yes, by the I just repeat this thing. In all these rebels, hark back to the 18th century Mughal world, a world that became a symbol of all that had been lost. So the Mughal world was the symbol that what had been lost. With the going away of Mughal court, everything that was dearer to the heart of rebels also went away. So therefore they want to re-establish the Mughal court so that everything which they liked would come again to them. And another important thing is that the administrative structures established by the rebels were primarily aimed at meeting the demands of war. Initially, it was just a makeshift type of administration because their main focus was to make arrangement for the war. So all the setting of administration was primarily was focused on the arrangement of wars. However, in most cases, these structures could not survive the British onslaught. When Britishers attacked, when Britishers attacked the rebels, all the arrangements, all the administrations established by the rebels could not be survived, and Britishers easily destroyed all that. But in Awadh, where resistance to the British lasted longest, plans of counter-attack were being drawn up by the Lucknow court, and hierarchies of command were in place as late as the last month of 1857 and the early parts of 1858. So you can very easily understand that in Awadh, this administration established by the rebels was more permanent or more stable, and it continued for a longer period than in other parts of India. So now we can conclude our discussion on this topic, and I hope that all of you have understood what the rebels wanted. And mind you, this question appear in the exam in many ways. So when you have a thorough understanding of all this thing, then whatever type of question you will face in exam, I hope that you can very easily write the answer of that question. So with this, we conclude our discussion today, and in the next video, we will discuss another important segment of this chapter. Till then, goodbye, good night, thank you, namaskar.